What if I told you that a few of the habits you've been doing for years, maybe even decades, are secretly making your hair look older, thinner, and duller than it needs to? The craziest part here is that most women don't even realize they're doing it wrong. In this video, I'm breaking down 12 specific hair mistakes women over 50 should avoid and what to do instead. Some of them are small tweaks, others are major game changers. But if you stick around until the end, you'll walk away knowing exactly how to revive your hair routine and stop sabotaging your strands. Let's start with one of the most common and most damaging mistakes: overwashing. Back in the day, when our scalps were oilier and our hormones were running the show, washing our hair every day or every other day might have made sense. We were active, busy, maybe even working jobs where our hair felt grimy by the end of the day. But things change. Once we hit 50, our oil glands slow down, and our scalps just don't produce the same level of natural oils they once did. What used to be a fresh, clean feeling after shampooing can now turn into dryness, dullness, and even breakage. If you've noticed your grey or thinning hair feeling straw-like, rough, or just harder to style, take a closer look at how often you're shampooing. Washing too frequently can strip away the very oils your hair needs to stay soft and flexible. For most women over 50, washing 2 to 3 times per week is plenty. And when you do wash, it's important to choose a shampoo that's sulfate-free and packed with hydrating ingredients. You want something gentle that cleans without completely depleting moisture. Now, let's be real here. Going a few days without washing can be uncomfortable if your scalp tends to feel greasy, especially around the hairline. But here's a little trick. Keep a lightweight dry shampoo on hand. Just a quick spray at the roots can absorb oil, give you a little lift, and help you feel refreshed between washes. And don't worry, there are options now that won't leave that chalky white residue on grey hair. Cutting back on overwashing can feel strange at first, especially if you've been doing it for decades. But within a week or two, you'll likely notice your scalp rebalancing and your hair starting to feel softer and less frizzy. It's a small shift that can make a big impact. Now that we've cut back on how often we wash, let's talk about what happens after the shower, because how we treat our hair when it's wet matters just as much. Wet hair is at its weakest. Especially if it's fine, thinning, or naturally grey, it's even more vulnerable when it's damp. But if you're anything like me, you probably grew up doing that same old post-shower routine: the towel wrap, the head flip, and then rub, rub, rub like you were trying to polish a car. I did it for decades without a second thought. Unfortunately, that old-school habit is doing your hair more harm than good. When you vigorously rub your hair with a rough towel, you're lifting and damaging the cuticle layer. That's the outermost part of the hair strand, the part that keeps moisture in and protects against breakage. Once it's roughed up, it doesn't bounce back. You're left with frizz, flyaways, and those short broken bits that never seem to grow out. The fix is easy, but it takes some retraining. Instead of rubbing, blot your hair dry. Use a microfiber towel, which is softer and more absorbent, or even a cotton t-shirt if you're in a pinch. Gently press the moisture out, section by section. It might feel like it's taking longer, but the payoff is smoother, healthier hair that's less prone to snapping. I also started letting my hair air dry a bit before heat styling, and it made a big difference. Just letting it dry 50 to 60% before touching it with a blow dryer reduces heat exposure and gives your strands time to settle. Your hair doesn't end up as puffy or parched, especially near the crown, which is a problem area for many of us over 50. That zone is usually the first to thin and the hardest to revive once damage sets in. This one small shift in your routine can honestly change how your hair looks and feels day to day. It's gentle, easy, and once you get used to it, you won't go back. And speaking of post-shower care, this next one is a mistake I made for way too long, and I didn't even realize it until my hair started showing signs of damage. Let's get into it. Skipping leave-in conditioner might not seem like a big deal, especially if you're in a rush or keeping things simple. But over time, this little habit can start to work against you, especially as we age. Our hair doesn't bounce back the way it used to. It loses moisture more easily, and the strands can feel rough, dry, or even straw-like, particularly if they've gone grey or are colour-treated. Leave-in products are like your hair's daily moisturizer. They create a lightweight barrier that helps seal in moisture and protect against everything from heat damage to harsh weather to indoor heating or air conditioning. These are all things that tend to mess with our hair more as we get older. A good leave-in also adds slip, making it easier to detangle without tugging or breaking delicate strands. And let's be honest, the fewer hairs we lose in the shower or during styling, the better. That's why I always recommend applying it right after blotting your hair dry, not dripping wet but still damp. If your hair is fine or thinning, go for a lightweight spray or cream, just nothing too heavy or oily. Look for ingredients like hyaluronic acid for moisture, keratin for strength, or silk proteins to help smooth and soften. These ingredients work like a little rescue team for your hair, repairing and protecting without leaving buildup behind. I usually apply mine from mid-length to ends, where hair tends to be drier and more fragile. Then I run a wide tooth comb through it just once to distribute everything evenly. That one step makes my hair feel softer, smoother, and easier to manage throughout the day. It also helps with styling, especially if you're air drying or using heat tools. Over time, incorporating a leave-in into your routine can actually change the way your hair behaves. It becomes less frizzy, less prone to tangles, and just more cooperative in general. And who doesn't want that? Now that we've given our hair a little extra support and hydration, let's talk about colour. Because yes, embracing your natural grey is empowering, but whether you've gone silver or still use dye, this next mistake can affect anyone. The tone of your hair might seem like a small detail, but it can change everything about how your hair looks and how you feel wearing it. As we get older, our hair changes texture, density, and colour. And those changes can affect the way light reflects off the hair. That's why undertone matters so much more than we might realise. A lot of women over 50, whether embracing their natural grey or still using colour, end up with brassiness or yellowing that sneaks in over time. This can be from sun exposure, minerals in your water, old hair dye, or even heat tools. That yellow tint might seem subtle, but it tends to make grey hair look tired, uneven, or just not quite right. What really helps here is tone correction, and one of the easiest ways to stay on top of it is with a purple shampoo or conditioner. Purple counteracts yellow tones, so using it once a week can make your silver or grey look cooler, brighter, and more polished. It doesn't dye your hair purple, rather it just gently balances out the warmth that makes grey look dull. If your grey leans toward a more yellow or muddy finish, a blue toning treatment might also help. These are great if you were previously brunette, as darker hair tends to pull more orange than yellow. These products work best when used consistently, but not daily. Once a week is usually enough to keep things looking fresh without drying out your strands. There are also toning masks and glosses that give you the same result with added softness and shine. I've tried a few that work like a mini salon treatment at home. Imagine no mess, no strong smell, and a noticeable difference by the time you rinse. So whether you're fully grey, transitioning, or still colouring, tone matters. And with the right product, you don't need to make a big change to see a big difference. The right tone brings life back to your hair, enhances your features, and gives your whole look that clean, bright finish that feels effortless. But even the most perfectly toned hair can lose its luster if the ends are splitting or dragging the whole look down. Let's talk about that next. Let me just say this plainly and from experience. Holding on to length when the ends are dry, frayed, or splitting is not doing your hair or your look any favours. And I know how tempting it is. After a certain age, many of us get attached to our length. It feels familiar, it feels feminine. But when the ends are damaged, that length actually drags the rest of your hair down. Instead of long and elegant, it can end up looking scraggly and tired, Split ends are sneaky. They travel up the shaft of your hair and slowly chip away at its strength. And once the damage sets in, no serum or oil can truly fix it. The only real cure is a trim. I used to avoid salon visits because I didn't want to lose what little length I had. But ironically, the longer I waited, the more my hair broke off unevenly on its own. And that looked worse than a fresh cut ever would. Regular trims every 6 to 8 weeks don't mean chopping it all off. It just means keeping the ends clean and the shape intentional. You can still wear it long, shoulder length, or anywhere in between. What matters is that the cut has structure. A healthy shape instantly lifts your hair and gives the illusion of more volume and movement, even if your strands are naturally fine or thinning. When you do get a trim, talk to your stylist about options that work with your texture. A blunt cut can give a fuller look if your hair is especially thin. Soft layers, when done right, add movement without removing too much weight. The key is to avoid those choppy layers that can make mature hair look even thinner. I can't tell you how many women I've spoken with who said their hair looked thicker and healthier just from trimming a few inches. It really does make a difference, and the confidence boost that comes from knowing your hair looks intentionally styled, not just grown out, is real. Now that we've trimmed the damage and refreshed our shape, let's talk about a habit that sounds helpful but can actually cause more harm than good. Let's talk about heat tools, blow dryers, curling irons, flat irons. We have all leaned on them, especially on busy mornings, or when we want that polished, put-together look. But once we hit our 50s, our hair isn't quite as resilient. The texture changes, it becomes finer, drier, and more prone to breakage. And unfortunately, heat damage just amplifies all of that. Here's the thing, you don't have to toss your hot tools in the donation bin. I still use mine, but moderation and protection are key. One of the biggest mistakes I used to make was cranking the heat all the way up. Just because a tool can hit 450 degrees doesn't mean your hair needs to be anywhere near that temperature. In fact, for mature hair, lower settings, like somewhere between 280 and 325 degrees, are usually more than enough. It's safer, and you'll still get results. But the biggest non-negotiable is using a heat protector. Think of it like sunscreen for your hair. A good thermal spray creates a barrier between your strands and that high heat, helping to prevent moisture loss and reduce breakage. I keep one in my bathroom and another in my gym bag because I've learned the hard way what skipping it can do. Also, try giving your hair heat-free days during the week. Let it air dry naturally when possible, and use soft rollers, braids, or twist-outs for gentle styling that doesn't involve direct heat. I've found that embracing a little natural wave or texture actually makes my hair look fuller and more youthful. There's something freeing about not chasing perfect every day, and instead focusing on preserving the health of what you've got. Another tip that helped me was switching to a blow-dry brush instead of juggling a round brush and hairdryer. It's easier on the arms, gentler on the hair, and cuts down drying time, which means less exposure to heat overall. Once you start dialing back the damage and being more intentional, your hair slowly starts to bounce back. It feels softer, shinier, and less brittle. You'll notice fewer flyaways, and the overall look becomes much smoother and healthier. It's a small shift, but the long-term payoff is huge. Now that we've turned the heat down, it's time to turn the moisture up. Because skipping deep conditioning is one of those quiet little mistakes that sneaks up on your hair over time. Let's get into it. Deep conditioning is one of those things that sounds optional until you stop doing it, and your hair reminds you otherwise. At this stage of life, our strands are naturally drier, more porous, and more prone to breakage. Hormonal shifts can thin out the hair or make it feel rougher. Coloring, heat styling, and even sun exposure add to the mix. A weekly deep conditioning treatment becomes less of a luxury and more of a necessity. Think of it like giving your hair a tall glass of water or slipping into a moisturizing body lotion after a hot shower. It's not about being high maintenance. It's about replenishing what your hair is missing and protecting what's still there. If your hair has started feeling wiry, stiff, or oddly dull, there's a good chance it's just dehydrated. A regular conditioner helps with surface softness, but it doesn't dive deep enough to repair the inner structure. That's where masks come in. I personally rotate between a rich shea butter mask when my hair feels extra parched, and a protein-based treatment when it needs strength and elasticity. Look for ingredients like argan oil, coconut milk, collagen, or keratin. Just look for anything that replenishes moisture and helps rebuild damaged strands. And you don't need anything fancy. Some of the best masks I've tried cost under $10 and came straight from the Walmart hair aisle. What really makes the difference is how you use them. After applying the mask to damp hair, I like to twist my hair up, wrap it with a warm towel, and let it sit for at least 15 minutes. The gentle heat helps the product sink in better. Sometimes I even leave it on while I do laundry or scroll through my emails. Nothing fancy, just multitasking. The results speak for themselves. After a few consistent weeks, hair feels softer, bouncier, and more cooperative. Styling becomes easier, frizz calms down, and you start getting that healthy-looking sheen again, especially for women over 50 who may be dealing with thinning or color-treated hair. This kind of care can restore a lot of what's been lost over time. It's such a simple habit, but it has a long-term impact. And when your hair feels good, you feel good. You don't need to overdo it. Just once a week is enough to see the difference. Now that hydration is handled, let's shift our focus upward, because one area that often gets ignored is the scalp, and that's where it all begins. Let's talk about the importance of scalp care. Here's something most of us weren't taught growing up. Healthy hair starts with a healthy scalp. It sounds simple, but it's easy to forget. We spend so much time focusing on the ends of our hair, trimming, conditioning, styling, that we completely overlook where the hair actually grows from. As we move through our 50s and beyond, our scalps change just like the rest of us. Oil production tends to slow down, which might sound like a good thing if you've battled greasy roots in the past. But this shift can lead to dryness, itchiness, and an overall decline in scalp health. Add in product buildup from dry shampoo, volumizers, and serums, and you've got a recipe for clogged follicles and lackluster hair. The truth is, your scalp is skin. It deserves just as much attention as your face or your body. A neglected scalp can lead to inflammation, irritation, and even hair thinning if buildup sits too long or blood flow is compromised. It's not dramatic to say that your scalp sets the tone for how your hair looks and feels day to day. A gentle weekly scalp treatment is one of the easiest ways to reboot everything. I personally love a foaming scalp detox. It lifts away product residue without stripping your natural oils. There are also some fantastic sugar or sea salt scrubs out there that give a little physical exfoliation without being harsh. The key is to be gentle. Use your fingertips, not your nails, and massage in small circular motions. This kind of massage also boosts circulation, which encourages healthier growth over time. You don't need to turn it into a spa day either. I usually do mine right before shampooing, while my hair is still dry or slightly damp. It adds maybe 5 extra minutes to my routine, but the difference in how clean and light my scalp feels is noticeable every time. And when your scalp feels good, your roots feel lifted, your hairstyle's better, and everything just works. Especially if you're dealing with thinning hair, patchy spots, or dullness that no product seems to fix, start with your scalp. You might be surprised how much your hair improves once that foundation is in better shape. Now that your scalp is clean and refreshed, let's talk about what happens after styling, because too much product, or the wrong kind, can make even healthy hair look flat and tired in seconds. Let's get into how to avoid that next. There's something about hair products that feels a little like insurance. A pump of this, a spritz of that, a dab of shine serum, all in hopes that it'll give us a bit more volume, more polish, more control. But as we get older, especially with thinner or more delicate hair textures, piling on too many products can actually work against us. Fine or aging hair tends to get weighed down easily, and the more you layer, the harder it is for your hair to move naturally or hold any kind of style. It might even feel greasy by the end of the day or flat the moment you finish styling. Sometimes the issue isn't your cut or shampoo, it's product overload. If your hair starts to feel coated, sticky, or limp, take a step back and simplify. Go back to basics. A lightweight leave-in, a bit of root lift, maybe a heat protectant, and that's often enough. You don't need to use everything every day. Let your hair breathe. Another thing to consider is how often you're clarifying. Buildup doesn't just come from styling products. Hard water, oils, even pollution can coat the hair over time. Using a gentle clarifying shampoo once or twice a month can reset your hair and scalp. It brings back that bounce and softness that sometimes feels lost after layering too many products for too long. The key here is balance. Our hair needs nourishment and protection, yes, but it also needs lightness and flexibility. When you use fewer, more targeted products, your hair feels cleaner, styles better, and looks healthier overall. Now that we've talked about what we put on our hair, let's zoom out and talk about the shape of it all, because the wrong haircut can undo everything else you're doing right. Haircuts have a powerful ability to change how we feel about ourselves. They can refresh our look, or in some cases, make us feel older than we really are. One of the most common mistakes we make as we age is holding onto a haircut that no longer flatters or suits the changes in our hair and face shape. It's not about trying to chase trends, but finding a style that works for you right now, based on your current hair texture, face shape, and even lifestyle. A haircut should enhance your natural beauty, not fight against it. For women over 50, styles that bring a little lift can do wonders. Layers add movement and volume, making hair appear fuller and softer. Side-swept bangs are another great option. They can frame your face beautifully and soften the lines around the eyes and forehead, giving you a more youthful, refreshed appearance. And here's a myth we need to bust. Shorter cuts aren't your enemy. In fact, a chic bob or a collarbone-length cut can add much more energy and bounce to your hair than longer styles that may end up dragging your face down. Shorter cuts are also easier to maintain, which can be a blessing as we age and want our hair routines to be a bit simpler and less time-consuming. The key is tailoring your haircut to your current needs, not holding on to what you've always done just out of habit. If you're unsure, consult with a stylist who specializes in cuts for women over 50. They can offer guidance on what works best for your unique hair type and face shape, helping you feel more confident and refreshed. Now that we've talked about external styling, let's take a look at something even more important. It's about how our internal health plays a role in the health of our hair. As we age, our hair doesn't just change in terms of texture and style, it's often a reflection of what's going on inside our bodies. After 50, hormonal shifts, vitamin deficiencies, and increased stress can all take a toll on our hair. If you've noticed thinning, shedding, or even changes in texture, it's not always just about your hair care routine. Sometimes it's your body signaling that it needs a little extra support. Nutrients like biotin, collagen, zinc, and iron are essential for maintaining healthy hair. Biotin helps with hair strength, while collagen and zinc work together to keep your strands looking fuller and more vibrant. Iron, on the other hand, is crucial to keep your scalp's blood supply rich and healthy, which in turn nourishes your hair follicles. These are vital elements for optimal hair growth and health, and you can find them in foods like eggs, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and lean meats. However, if your diet is lacking, supplements can help fill in the gaps. Of course, always consult with your doctor before adding any new supplements to your routine. They can help you determine what your body specifically needs based on blood work or other health indicators. And let's not forget hydration. Dehydrated bodies show up in dehydrated hair. Drinking enough water can make a noticeable difference in the texture and shine of your hair. We often think of skincare and hair care in terms of what we put on the outside, but nutrition plays a much bigger role in overall hair health than many of us realize. By paying attention to what's going on inside, you'll start to see improvements not just in your hair, but in your overall well-being. Now, let's talk about something that affects our hair in a way that goes beyond products or nutrition. It's something that affects how we feel about ourselves, and it's probably the most important mistake to avoid. As we reach our 50s, it's easy to start feeling like our hair just isn't what it used to be. Maybe it feels thinner, drier, or lacks that youthful bounce. And sometimes it's tempting to think, well, I'm over 50, this is just how it is now. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. Your hair doesn't have to be dull, limp, or uninspired. Just because we've hit a certain age doesn't mean we have to give up on looking and feeling our best. There's power in showing up for yourself, especially in the little things. Caring for your hair can be more than just a routine. It can become a personal ritual, a moment of self-care, or even a quiet act of rebellion in a world that often tells us to fade into the background as we get older. Our hair tells a story of who we are, and it's worth investing the time to make it the best it can be. It's not about trying to look younger or chasing a perfect image. The goal is confidence, embracing what we have and working with it. Experiment with styles that make you feel fabulous, try different products, and don't be afraid to make small changes to find what works for you. Your hair, like you, evolves, and there's beauty in that. So don't give up on your hair, treat it like the asset it is, and take the time to nurture it. Whether it's a new cut, a fresh color, or simply learning how to style it in a way that works for you, remember that taking care of your hair is a reflection of how you're showing up for yourself. Age is just a number, and your hair doesn't need to tell a story of surrender. It can be vibrant, full of life, and a source of pride. So, which of these hair mistakes resonated with you the most? I'd love to hear what's been working for you. Drop a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going. And if you enjoyed watching this video, you will definitely love this next one.